setting up of business entities and closure. So in company secretary course new syllabus, we have this new subject which has been introduced, that is setting up of business entities and closure. Actually in old syllabus many of the things in company law they have put it here, but why I like this subject a lot is they have made it 100% practical, which is like a guide or a checklist for you to actually work tomorrow when you are actually setting up different businesses. So in setting up of business entities and closure, what is very important is that they have made the same company law in old syllabus, some parts of it which is practical oriented, which will help you to work tomorrow. It is not just theory based. So this is something like if actually somebody wants to start a business, this book is going to be actually very helpful. So for you as a student of company secretary course, tomorrow if somebody comes to you and say I want to start one business, there are so many questions they are going to have. In this book the answer to all that questions is there, and really they have designed the syllabus of this book, this subject very well, and something which is going to be very helpful for you when you are actually going to work. So the first chapter, that is relating to choice of business entity. So in setting up of business entities and closure, we should first know choice of business entity. So just to give you an example which type of business to choose, we will go back to, let us say when you did 10th standard. So after 10th standard you had a choice, should I go to science, should I go to commerce, should I go to arts, or should I do something else, should I do fine arts, should I get into something like sports or dance. There are so many options which you have after class 10. Similarly, when somebody wants to start a business, there are so many factors they have to think. So in this chapter, first we try to understand that. So you just imagine that somebody is coming to you and saying that I want to start some business, but you have to advise them on which is the correct form of business. We already have studied in plus 2 or in different stages, even in degree, what are the types of business entity. So we have studied something like sole proprietorship concern, partnership firm, joint stock company, or what we call as private or public company. Now we have also understood limited liability partnership firm. Then we also have cooperative society. There are so many different forms of business. But which is the correct one for you? It depends on what is your idea. So the first question you should ask the person who wants to start the business is that, first of all, what is your business? Is it manufacturing concern? Is it service sector? Is it a big business? It is only a single man business? So there are many factors. So in this chapter, what we study is very simple. What are the things to be kept in mind before you start a new business? So that is, for example, first thing, scale of business, how big the business is going to be. Second thing is something like, what is the capital? Do you need just 50,000? Do you need 50 crores? There are some businesses, even if you invest 100 crores, the money will not be sufficient. So depending on what is the kind of business, the capital will be required. So in this chapter, we have a brief understanding about basically when you want to start a business, what should be in your mind. We also study what is the control and management which a person will have over the business. If it is a sole proprietorship concern, you have 100% control. You are the single owner. If it is a partnership firm, you have to dilute your control with your partner. If it is a company, you have shareholders, you have directors. There are multiple things. So you should think, when I want to start my business, is it required for me to have some control and management? So based on that, you can think. Some of the other things, you think yourself you are going to start a business, that time it is very easy. So the first thing, if yourself you are going to start a business, you will think, what are the costs involved for me to start my business? The cost may be registration cost, the cost may be raw material cost, the cost may be to set up, the cost may be for labor and other things. So what are the costs which are there is something which you have to keep in mind before you start the business. So this chapter will help any person who want to start a business, that if they go through this, they don't have to waste the time, they don't have to waste the energy. This is giving complete knowledge on what are the things to be kept in your mind before you start a business, before you choose. Same way, after 10th standard, there are so many things. You decided, okay, I don't want science because of so and so reason. I want to do commerce because of so and so reason. Same like that. What are the factors in your mind? What is the decision criteria? What is the decision criteria to start a business? That is what we study. Then we also study something like, what is the tax implication? For example, for LLP, the taxation is 30%. For proprietorship concern, it is like income tax of the personal individual. So you have slab rates. So you can use the advantage of that. So your tax will be slightly lesser. But if it is a company, your tax is only 25% in the new direct tax which we are having. So depending on what is the tax rate, that will also be one of the point in your mind before you choose the kind of business entity which you want to start. So what you have to understand very clearly is that in this particular chapter, we study the choice of business and what are the factors to be in your mind before you start the business. So now let us try and understand this chapter with the help of diagrams. Choice of business entity. When you want to start a business, you have many options. But what are the things you should keep in mind? So as we can see here, in choice of business entity, what is the selection criteria? So if you see here, the first thing is the objects of the business. That is, what is your business for? Is it software business? Is it retail business? Is it just consultancy? Or is it manufacturing company? So these are the things you should think before you start the business. So before that, you tell me, what are the different kinds of business entities? Yes, you know very well, proprietorship, partnership, private company, LLP, public company, correct? These are the forms of business. But before you start, what should be in the mind of you who is the business entrepreneur, the founder, before you start? So these are the points. Then the number of members. So how many people you require? For example, private company, we just need 2 people. But for public company, we need 7 people to start that public company. Then the next question is amount to be invested. How much should we invest? What kind of business we need? Is there any risk involved, etc. Then the fourth point is relating to the operations. The scale of operations. Are you going to have business only in one city? Are you going to have in multiple locations? You're going to have corporate office, then again factory, etc. So depending on your scale of operations. Are you going to have international transactions? Are you going to have international business? These things you must consider. Going further, what is the state control? That means how much control does the government have over your company? If you're a listed company, there is extreme control by the state or what we call as the government, because the compliances are very huge. But if you are a proprietorship concern, the control is very less. It is as good as individual person. You are sitting at home and doing whatever you want. The control is much lesser. Then the next and important thing for big businesses is tax implications. Tax implications can determine on what kind of business you want. So for corporations, that is private limited company, public company, the taxation is 25%. But for LLP, the taxation is 30%. So this will also become an important factor depending on what is your kind of business. Then you can think, should I start company? Should I start LLP? Etc. Then the next point is legal requirements. Again, like I told you, if you are public company, listed company, you have multiple legal requirements. But if you are a simple proprietorship or partnership, your documentation legal requirement is very, very less. Then what is the competitive advantage which you are going to have compared to the other forms of business? So these are the things which you should keep in mind when you are starting a business. Now that you know that, we can go to the next concept, the forms of business. Most of it you may already know, but let us try and understand here. So if you see here, we have the forms of business enterprises. So what are the forms of business enterprises? The first one is non-corporate form. Non-corporate form, we have first sole proprietorship concern. So sole proprietorship concern is a business where there is just one person. So you yourself can start the business and run the business. As the name goes, sole proprietorship concern, there is just one person. That you know very well. Then the second one is partnership. You only tell me, in partnership how many people we need? Minimum is 2. The very name partnership means you need at least one partner to call yourself a partnership. So the partnership is the second form of business entity. So what are the features of a partnership? The features of a partnership, the first point is contractual relationship. So if you say Indian Contract Act, it says what is a contract? A contract is basically an agreement which is enforceable by law. So when do we have an agreement? When there is consensus ad idem, that is meeting of two minds. There are two people who agree upon something in the same sense, in the same time, for a particular consideration, we say there is a contract. Yes. Similarly, in company law, whenever there is a contractual relationship, we can say that there is a partnership which is emerged. So for partnership, which is the Act, Indian Partnership Act 1932. Then existence of a business and partnership. Then there is sharing of profits. Then there is mutual agency. But what is the biggest problem in partnership? Unlimited liability. Liability is unlimited. Why is the liability unlimited? Because partnership is not a separate entity in the eyes of law. So if you are in a partnership, you have many flexibility advantages, but the biggest disadvantage is unlimited liability. So if you are a partner and there is some problem in the business, even your personal assets, your personal house, your car, your scooter, even that can be attached by the court, because in the eyes of law, the partner and the partnership firm is one and the same person. So this is very important for you to understand. Then we have the joint Hindu family business, or what we also call as HUF. So Hindu undivided family business is unique to India, and in the Hindu tradition there have been businesses where it is managed by the Karta. This you already studied in your plus 2 or any other BCom etc. Now we will go to the limited liability partnership. So we have a separate chapter, limited liability partnership. We will be studying it in great detail, but now for you to understand in simple words, a limited liability partnership is exactly like a partnership, but as the name goes, the liability of the partners is limited to the extent of their contribution. So personal assets of partners will never be attached in LLP. As the name goes, limited liability partnership firm. So limited liability partnership firm is basically under the LLP Act of 2008. So LLP Act of 2008 talks about limited liability partnership firm. Then if you go to the corporate form of entity, we have corporate society organization, and then we have company. So in company, we have public company, private company, and one person company. So what is each one of them, we will be understanding in detail.
Choice of business organization. So this is the first chapter where we study what is the door you must take for your business. This is important. See, each route is different. Each door will take you to a different place. But depends on what is your business you should choose. Should I start sole proprietorship? Should I start partnership? Should I start Hindu undivided family? Should I start LLP, cooperative society, company? Company may be private limited, public limited, one person company, or should I take a franchisee? So these are the different kinds of business which you can start, and this is a vehicle. A vehicle is required for you to reach your destination. You are in point A, you want to go to point B. You can go by walking, you can go by scooter, you can go by car, you can go by bus, you can go anyhow. Depending on how many people you are only one person. Will you go in a bus? You yourself will drive alone in a bus? No, if you're one person, you will go walking, or you will go scooter, or if it is very far, you will go in the car also. So depending on what is your requirement, you will choose your vehicle. Same way, choice of business organization depending on what is your business, you can decide which form of business you should choose to carry on your activities.
When you are a student, when you have completed, let us say, 10th standard, that time you have so many options. You may go to arts, science, commerce, correct? Same way, when you want to start a business, there are many options before you. But which you have to choose depending on what is your business, what is the size, what is the capital. So you can go for partnership, society, company, LLP, HUF, that is Hindu undivided family, sole proprietor. Each one has advantage, disadvantage. Nothing is good or bad. What is good for your business you have to choose. And that is what we are going to learn in this chapter. So let us try and understand. Business organization, what is it? It refers to all the arrangements required to conduct a business in a proper manner. So when I tell you, if you want to go to point A to point B, that is exactly what I said. What are the arrangements required to go from point A to point B properly? If you have to go for 100 kilometers, you will never say, I will go walking. Correct? You will always say, I will go by bus or train or car or scooter, by any motorized vehicle. Correct? But if I tell you it is 100 meters, you will obviously tell you will walk. So it depends on what is the requirement, you must plan it. So same way, business organization also is for what you're depending to do. Based on that, you should decide which is the proper organization for you. Okay? So it refers to all the steps that you need to take for establishing and maintaining the business. So what is very important here is two things you should know. Establishing. So establishing is the first step, but more important is execution or maintaining the business. Execution or maintaining the business is more important. So we need to have the relationship between the men, material and machinery to carry on business efficiently for earning profits. End of the day we should do. But to decide that, if I want to have a small shop which will have like provision, like a small shop like that, do I need public limited company? Definitely not. So that is what you should decide. So types of business, you have many. The first one, most common, the company. In company we have one person company, private company, public company, section 8 company, correct? Then we have partnership firm under the Indian Partnership Act 1932, cooperative societies, that is a business, limited liability partnership under LLP Act of 2008, sole proprietorship concern, the most common type of business, very common, Hindu undivided family for Hindus, franchisees. These are also, franchisee can be any form of business, but it is a model. So it is a model, it is not a form of business, it is a model. So these are the types of entities which you can run. So when you're a franchisee, you should be registered under any one of these. As you can see, there is nothing called as franchisee registration itself. It is a form of business. It is a form for you to run the business. It is not a form of business, it is a form for you to run the business. So as you can see here, we have one person company, in company, then private company, public company, in that again company limited by guarantee, subsidiary, statutory company, insurance company, unlimited company. So you should just know the brief types, which one you are going to start. Business enterprise can be owned and organized in several forms. The ultimate choice to form business depends upon the balancing of the merits and demerits of the forms of business. So depending on what is your merits and demerits, you have to choose. Like I told you, it may be based on your size, your capital, your customers. Based on that, you should decide. So never go for a proprietorship when you have to start a company. Never go for company when you can do the business in a simple proprietorship or a partnership firm. So that is why you should see the choice depend upon the merits and demerits of every case. Okay. The need for selection of business organization will be for starting the business and later stage to meet the needs of the growth of the business, to expand the business. Whatever we need to do. So it is desirable to address this issue at both levels. Both level means at the starting stage. You may start as a partnership firm, but tomorrow you may have to grow. For grow and expansion, you may have to go for LLP or a private company. So depending on your requirement, you can do it. So what are the factors governing decisions for suitable form of an organization? For a new or proposed business, the selection of a suitable form of business organization is governed by different factors. So what are the things to keep in mind? So factors is, in simple words, things to keep in mind before choosing a form of business. This you must know. What should you think of? That is only we call as factors for suitable business. Very simple. What all should I think? Before you decide, after class 10, you decided whether I should go for science, commerce, arts. So what all did you think? Correct? Same way, what are the things to keep in mind? What should you think? What should you think? First thing, nature of your activity. What business are you doing? So if you're a sole proprietorship concern, which is a small business, it is suitable for small things, repair shop, consulting, beauty parlor, small retail store, medicine store, like this. It is enough. If you do proprietorship, it is enough. So depending on the nature of it. So you are doing software company, it is very difficult to do in sole proprietorship business. Next we come to partnership. So in partnership, usually the capital is little more required as compared to sole proprietor. That is why you are joining hands with somebody, maybe friend, family member or any other business partner. So when you want to open hotel or small scale manufacturing, wholesale trade, drug manufacturing, whatever, these are just examples, but what you should keep in mind, the nature of the business or the size of the business. Okay. OPC, one person company, is a new concept in India which is nothing but a hybrid of proprietor and a company. So OPC company main advantage is limited liability. Main problem in a sole proprietorship business is unlimited liability. So once you have a OPC, we don't have the disadvantage of sole proprietor unlimited liability. We have the advantage of limited liability of a one-person company. One-person company will retain the character of sole proprietor. Why? Because there will be only one person. It is as good as sole proprietor, but it gives you the advantage of limited liability, as I told you, which is the main feature which will help the proprietor to expand business. He need not be worried about his personal assets to be attached, and it will give him the status of a legal entity. So in legal entity, we know very well the company is different from the owner. So Solomon versus Solomon, same case, right? Solomon versus Solomon. So that case is the example for you to understand distinct legal entity. So that is the advantage in OPC. Next we come to LLP, limited liability partnership firm.